Hey, let's get this shit. Where the fuck's my game? Uh. Where's my games? I'm gonna try this shit again. Where the fuck are my games? Uh. What the bullshit? What the fuck? Well, uh, I don't know. Like, that kind of pisses me off. All right, well, that, that's fucked. I mean, I guess I'll just watch some fucking YouTube. Like, that's kind of ass. Not gonna lie. All right. Here, maybe these guys will have some more shit on it. That pisses me off.
And trade. Okay, what an interesting last couple of days it's been with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, the definitive edition. If you're online, you've probably heard about the technical state of it. It's a bummer situation all around. I have to put my glasses on for this one, to talk this one. Now, what I wanted to do here is kind of talk calmly and rationally about what's going on with this. There's a lot to unpack, what we can learn from it, and ultimately have a good conversation, because I am still having fun revisiting these games. It's just all the around it that is a bummer. I think these conversations can be productive, but they can also just oftentimes get nasty, and the context can be lost with just like looking at memes and stuff. So here's the deal. I'm having fun. And while a lot of this video is focusing around the conversation and the bad stuff, it's not all bad, you know? Viral posts and the headlines will make you believe that, of course. But when I fired up San Andreas and I was in the cul-de-sac in Grove Street and I saw the draw distance being like exponentially better, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is cool. I'm excited to play this. And now that I'm hours deep into Vice City and haven't encountered any problems at all, and I'm cruising down the main strip in a sick-ass 80s car. I love 80s cars, and the music's jamming, even though there's some missing songs. But still, the music is jamming, the music that I remember. And we got Tommy Vercetti there, it was Ray Liotta, who's basically like my dad at this point. I truly believe that the fun factor is still there. The glitches hamper it, you know, specifically like the rain and stuff, but there is still fun factor there. You might think I'm crazy, but hey, that's just like my opinion, man. My expectations were also set. I wasn't expecting a full remake or anything like that. I was expecting a remaster with some nice bells and whistles, and that's what it is. But it's technically a mess, and it shouldn't have been, and that's a damn shame, because I think within here, I think there are some nuggets of goodness. A lot of that stuff, that goodness, is subjective, and I think that's what is fueling a lot of the anger and divisiveness out there about this, is that some people are just happy to have a trip down memory lane with some nostalgia. You have some players who think for the asking price, you know, it should be way more. You also have some people who just aren't vibing with the art style changes, you know, because of this being slightly upgraded visually. Some different artistic choices had to be made, and I think some of it is poor porting and poor remaking, design, or whatever, and I think some of it is just the art style being different and people reacting to it harshly. So case in point, specific thing is, and actually, you know, before we even go into that, I do want to point out, I bought 2 copies of this game. So my ass is very much on the line here. So for the game ranks before you buy, we had to test like all these different versions of the game, and I was excited, so I did buy the game. So I'm not trying to like justify my purchase here or excuse anything or like anything like that. But what I was saying again with the art style, like case in point, right? So the character models, there's a lot of like busted side characters and the weird looking stuff. But I think the main characters, I think they look pretty good. CJ has some weird animation stuff that doesn't translate over well, but I actually like the creative choices they did with kind of filling in the blanks for these characters. They were muddy looking, they were blurry looking, so they beefed them up. I like the way Tommy Vercetti looks. Specifically, I want to highlight, I think they did a good job with Vice City. I think it looks pretty good for the most part. I'm gonna stand by that. I think the colors are great. I think some of the way they kind of creatively bump things up looks great. You know, there are corners of it that don't look so great, but ultimately, I think it looks pretty cool, and that's the one I've been spending the most time with, and I've been having a lot of fun revisiting it. But then you have other things like 3 is really messy, really messy. I like this like look of Claude, right? Like they gave him like 3 dimensions more, and he looks cool. But like you've seen the rain effects, there's some really horrendous glitches and bugs going on here, and that's a damn shame. When you couple that with the fact that I think specifically with 3, and everybody's gonna feel different because this is subjective. I think with 3, the way it was kind of remastered or kind of rebuilt a little bit here and there, you lose some of the atmosphere, some of the tone, some of the vibe of the original game. I don't think you lose that with San Andreas or Vice City, but I think with 3, you lose it, and it's disappointing. So that's the thing about this package, right? It's like you see both sides of it. You know, you can see some parts of it that are competently done, and then you see some parts of it that are, for lack of a better word, and I never like to go this like, but some of it feels half-assed. You've seen the screenshots, you've seen some things that are pretty sketchy, and I think my biggest problem is that I just wish this was treated with a little bit more reverence, you know? It is 3 absolutely massive major games that changed gaming history, changed a lot of us who played it growing up. For some of you that didn't play it growing up, this could have been a really good way to experience it. And I think if you haven't ever touched it before, I still think it's all right. I still think it's a good way to experience it. I mean, it's the only way to experience it because Rockstar delisted the originals, which I disagree with, but I'm still having fun despite things bumming me out. I just wish it was handled with a little bit more care. And the fact that if you're playing on a next generation console and you have to choose between frame rate or fidelity, and it's not really that big of a change other than frame rate, like it's a 20-year-old game. I think that's frustrating to have these like technical issues here and there and just not good optimization. And I really think all of this stuff, all I'm saying, you know, the frame rate, blah, 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 all those nitpicky things, they're not really nitpicky here. They're real problems, but I think it clouds what could have been so exciting. A bunch of people playing these games for the first time, and, you know, some people revisiting them and, like, you know, finding that fun again. And I still am. I still managed to do that through this. And I know people personally that are also doing that. I said this on social media, but like, you know, the discourse about this is heating up, and I think that doesn't get us anywhere. I've seen people in my mentions say, hey, I'm still having fun, and I've seen other people come at them and say, how could you do that? How could you shill for Take-Two Interactive? Keep, you know, blah, 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 keep expletiving them, you know? Like, what does any of that do, man? I think that, and this happened with Cyberpunk too, like, there are going to be people that just buy the thing and enjoy the thing. There are going to be people that are less sensitive to certain issues. Case in point, so I have a family member that loves Vice City, loved it back in the day. I showed him the trailer. He was so excited to replay it, and it looks a little cooler. He played it day one and shit his pants. He texted me freaking out about how cool it is, and he's having a blast. So him getting excited at Vice City, getting freshened up, and him playing it on his PS5 or whatever, who am I to then yell at him about frame rates and things that he's never thought about? You know, there are casual people out there playing this stuff and enjoying it, and I think all the criticism is absolutely valid, but I think for people like that, people having fun, leave them alone. I think that there are battles to be fought for consumers asking for better products, and we are doing that, right? We want better products. We're going to ask for better products. We're out there. We're doing it, right? But I also think we need to make sure not to lose sight of the fun, or at the very least, not try and take other people's joy away. And I say that, right? And I'm not shilling for Rockstar or anything, dude. I'm just trying to, in a world where, like, we are so at each other's throats with some things that are very important and some things that are pretty crazy. This is not one of them. This is the bottom line of us wanting a better product, buying it or not, speaking out, not speaking out. but at the very least, please, we can't lose sight of the fact that video games are still cool. They're really great. The companies fuck up sometimes. This is not a well-constructed argument. There are people who are still going to find flaws in that and say, well, yeah, technically you are advocating for the companies by excusing it. Like, you could totally, this is probably like you could Swiss cheese my argument, right? I am going on feeling and passion here, and that's where I'm at.
Hey, check this out. How much money did you make before working here?
About 12K a month,
And how much do you make now?
20 to 25. It's like 6 to 7K a month.
How much?
Last night, after finishing the Before You Buy video, after playing these games and evaluating them and capturing footage for 12 hours straight, I went home, I opened up a beer, and I played another 6 hours, 7 hours of Vice City. Because I like video games. Now, if you have a problem with this port or you don't want to pay for it, I'm not saying that you don't like video games. I am just reiterating my own experience. That's it. I like being critical and still making sure that I can enjoy something. Also, I mean, I paid 60 bucks for it, so I was already fucking stuck with it anyway. I really just think there's a lot of casual players that were expecting this to be a complete remake, which it is not. They're reacting harshly. I think the art direction decisions can be divisive, and I think that's completely warranted, but I think the real other root thing is Rockstar seemingly just didn't give this the care that it deserved. Because there's things in here, like, I like the updated saving and checkpointing stuff. I like that the controls are like a little better with aiming and shooting. It's not a big change, but I like things like that. It's just all the other stuff, the technical stuff. Man, there can be conversations about this thing like this. We can see what we really want, and thankfully there are communities out there like modders, preservationists and stuff that can support this stuff. If the companies aren't going to back it up, players still can. If you really want this stuff and you're angry in the comments right now, you have ways of going to get and play the things you want how you want them. So I really have no endpoint with this thing, no conclusion other than try not to kill people's joy, and I'm still having fun playing these. And I am doing
Hey, video creators. No matter which video you're creating, Envato Elements has everything you need.
What's up, everybody? It's Nars, and in today's fix, Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition launch has been met with complaints from players. We break down Elden Ring multiplayer from co-op to PvP duels, and finally, we get some geeky GIF ideas for this holiday season presented by Walmart. Take a deep breath and exhale, then prepare to get pissed off again because GTA the Trilogy the Definitive Edition's launch has faced a multitude of issues. Jeez, where do I begin? Starting off, graphic fidelity and quality concerns were a focal point in our game subreddit that has now amassed 1,300 comments documenting concerns of performance options for the remaster, as well as criticism for Rockstar's lack of due diligence. Character models have been the butt of social media jokes, as many new models appear to be downgraded versions of the older originals. Like, seriously, what is going on here? Technical concerns around the game's open world dynamic have also been met with complaints, as the game no longer adds atmospheric effects like fog to mask the player's world around them, and rain, which was meant to be purely aesthetic, now just blatantly blinds a player's field of view. Performance issues on the Switch version included erratic frame rates, long loading times, and visual downgrades. Rockstar's launcher also suffered a fatal blow, as PC users are seemingly not able to play the game at all. Despite being a single-player game, the launcher is required to boot the GTA Trilogy and other Rockstar PC games. At the time of this fix, the PC version of the remastered GTA Trilogy is not available to buy on Rockstar's website, and those who did buy the game on PC are just not able to play it. Just a few hours after the release of the collection, Rockstar's Twitter support account explained services for the Rockstar Games launcher and supported titles are temporarily offline from maintenance. Services will return as soon as maintenance is completed. That means GTA Trilogy, GTA 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2 also cannot be played on PC.
And if this car is moving on the road, I have to pick it up on the pace.
criticism for Rockstar's lack of due diligence. Character models have been the butt of social media jokes as many new models appear to be downgraded versions of the older originals. Like, seriously, what is going on here? Technical concerns around the game's open world dynamic have also been met with complaints, as the game no longer adds atmospheric effects like fog to mask the player's world around them, and rain, which
By switching to AAA insurance, we're able to save over $450. More gas in our car.
Brian Scalabrine was more of a meme than a basketball player. The man never averaged more than 6 points a game in any season of his career. Because he looked like he belonged in a 24-hour fitness gym more than an NBA court, many people tried challenging him to a one-on-one battle. And during the 2004 season with the Nets, Scalabrine only scored in double digits 3 times. Leading up to Game 5, he only scored 6 points in his last 5 playoff games, and the Nets were dominated in their first 2 games in Detroit, including a game where they scored 56 points. Yes, 56 points. But in a pivotal Game 5 on the road against the Pistons, he became the hero that no one expected. Scalabrine checked in during the second quarter with the Nets having a decent lead and coach Lawrence Frank wanting to give the starting bigmen some rest from battling with Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace. And he's here for basically one purpose, to shoot the ball and provide spacing for the offense, which he does immediately. The Nets killed the Pistons with the Kidd Jefferson pick and roll, since it allowed Jefferson to draw on the defense and kick out for threes, one to Scalabrine and one to Kittles. After those 2 possessions, the Pistons get mixed up on a back screen and Ben Wallace is not used to coming out on shooters, so Scalabrine gets an open jumper. And here, the Nets use the Jefferson Kidd pick and roll again to get a switch. Collins fakes the pass to Jefferson, which gets Wallace jumping, and Scalabrine makes the Pistons pay for helping off him. The Nets started getting into a rhythm, so the Pistons started playing zone, which threw them off their game, and this capped the second quarter. Scalabrine